Assets and liabilities. You want more assets and less liabilities. Be frugal and cut back on your spending. Put the difference into assets that generate money. Getting rich doesn't happen quick, it takes time. According to the author, there are 3 pillars of personal finance: cash management, investing, risk mitigation. This is my review of Stop Being a Broke Loser by Christopher Bell. Cash management is just simply budgeting and making more money. You can make more money by working more hours, getting a second job, and also by increasing your skill. The author is a big fan of getting into a trade. For help budgeting, you can use an app like Mint. With budgeting, we want to find out where our money is going and cut out or reduce unnecessary spending. This way, we're tackling our finances twofold. We're increasing our income and we're also reducing our expenses. The author also recommends having an emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months of necessary expenses saved up, and to put that money into a high-yielding FDIC-insured savings account. I'm glad they actually mentions putting it into a high-yield savings account. Putting your emergency fund into an online bank that pays significantly higher interest than a traditional brick-and-mortar bank is the way to go. I would suggest putting it into SoFi. Right now, SoFi is paying 4% interest on money in your savings account when you have direct deposit set up. You can also get $25 as a welcome bonus from SoFi when you deposit at least $10 if you sign up using someone else's link. I'll have my link down below. Feel free to use my link or someone else's in order to get that welcome bonus. The author defines investing as delaying gratification in the present to achieve a financial goal sometime in the future. Chris recommends investing in Tesla and Bitcoin. Oh wait, sorry, I read that wrong. Chris recommends investing in index funds. Index funds are not a get-rich-quick scheme, and this book does not promote getting rich quick. It's based in reality. It's about automatically investing into index funds consistently over decades. Chris believes that doing this is the optimal way for the average American to build wealth. And of course, the author mentions about how the market will have dips and crashes. Still, according to the author, over the course of a lifetime, stocks always come through for investors, assuming that they bought and held for the long term, which there are decades of history to back up these claims. The author also mentions starting a business in real estate when it comes to building massive wealth. But these do require more risk, hustle, and money as opposed to investing in index funds. Because of fractional shares, you really only need $1 to start investing in index funds. Also, keep in mind, stocks are not just pieces of paper, they are ownership in a company. A company sells stock in order to get cash in exchange for giving up a portion of their company. This gives them additional cash to help them grow their company. Chris doesn't recommend trading stocks unless if it's a very small portion of your portfolio, because you'd more likely make more money just buying an S&P 500 index fund and just holding it. The author recommends opening up an account with Fidelity or Vanguard and picking a target retirement index that most closely matches the year you plan on retiring. The author also mentions investing in bonds, but he doesn't recommend buying them until you're 10 to 15 years away from retirement, which if you buy a target retirement fund, you don't even have to think about bonds. The author is against actively managed funds. It's difficult for these funds to outperform passively managed index funds. These funds are constantly trading, which means they have to pay more taxes. And they also usually have higher fees. And besides, anyway, these top index funds generally outperform these actively managed funds anyway over the long term. Chris is also a big fan of buying insurance, especially term life insurance. He's against whole life insurance. He also mentions overhyped fads and bros and YouTubers giving stock tips. If you do decide to speculate in stocks or cryptocurrencies, consider keeping out a lower portion of your portfolio, like 5%, instead of going all in. That it would be wise to keep most of your money in a diversified index fund. So that way, if the cryptocurrency or company didn't do so well, you don't lose everything. The author is also against buying Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, including, and I quote, gold and other shiny rocks. This is because the author believes that they have no intrinsic value and they don't pay a dividend. In my opinion, the book did go downhill at this point. The author prefers Roth IRAs over traditional IRAs. The main reason is because you're paying the taxes up front as opposed to paying them later on in life. Because the author believes that there's a chance that in the future, if you have a traditional IRA, you may actually get taxed more, possibly due to wealth inequality, which if your income's too high, you won't be able to contribute to a Roth IRA anyway. When it comes to tax advance accounts, he suggests maxing out your 401k match with your employer, and then maxing out your Roth IRA. The author also recommends using credit cards to boost your credit score, which makes me happy. This is actually oftentimes left out of finance books. It gets even better because he also mentions paying off the statement balance in full, and that you should only use a credit card if you can control your spending. The credit cards should be used to only buy things that you're going to buy anyway. I'm definitely a fan of this advice. As for the cons, this book is not for people who are easily offended. The word broke, loser, and broke loser are used throughout this book. The book is also not very professional in the sense that it seems like Chris did not have an editor, so there are mistakes in the book. The author also goes on a bit of a rant about not investing in Bitcoin and not investing in gold. The reason being that it doesn't produce an income, which is fair enough, but the arguments start to go downhill after that. I think it would have been better if the author instead said to not put more than 5% of your money into cryptocurrencies or precious metals. And the biggest con of the book is that he doesn't list any ticker symbols. In conclusion, while there are some errors throughout the book and some may find it offensive, especially in the beginning, I personally enjoyed it. It contains a lot of information, real information, that you can actually apply to your life. I do recommend this book. I'll have an Amazon affiliate link down below if you feel like checking it out. If you're easily offended, look elsewhere. The author does give their strong opinions on certain topics, and I do not agree with all of them. Still, it's nice to hear different opinions, and I agree with a lot of what he has to say. I'm glad that he mentions buying used cars in the book and also using a credit card to build your credit score. This is real advice. Most financial books that I've read do not mention this, or they fail to go into more detail if they do. He goes into more detail about college, school, and the army in the book. Chris definitely gets a thumbs up from me when it comes to going the extra mile. Even though it gave a quick overview of the book, there's still a lot of information that I left out. My biggest con of the book is that he doesn't give you ticker symbols when it comes to his favorite index funds. He mentions the S&P 500, and he also mentions small and mid-cap index funds, and also telling the reader to just buy a Vanguard Target Retirement Date Fund. In my opinion, mentioning small and mid-cap just makes things more complicated for new investors. Investing in index funds should be simple. So, in my opinion, he's shown made this part more simple. The author of the book recommends buying VT in his YouTube videos. Yet he fails to mention VT in this book. VT is the total stock market, US and international. Since he didn't give ticker symbols, I'll give you some right now. If you open up an IRA, just simply type this in. VT for the total world market, VOO for the S&P 500, or VTI for the total US market. You can also get target retirement funds. Personally for me, I lean towards VTI with the S&P 500 right behind it. Long-term VTI, VOO, and VT should perform about the same, give or take a %. And what's in a 401k varies by employer. I would just try to get something that tracks the S&P 500, a target retirement fund, or a total US market fund.